Hello girls and boys, how's it going? I'm sure every once in a while you come across videos like 2 crore rupees remote jobs, 300k remote jobs, work from the hills, पहले मैं बहुत कमजोर था, फिर मैंने remote job किया, अब मैं कटरीना कैफ हो गया हूँ. You get the drift. This is not one of those videos. I've made some of them. This is not that. In this video, I will talk about 5 reasons why you should consider taking a remote job and why you should do the grind that it takes to get one. These are the 5 reasons, my personal experience sharing with you because I've been there, I have done that, and this is beyond the money and the time and the travel and all of that usual things which are very, very obvious. This is straight from the heart, from me to you. Let's get started. Chapter 1, the respect just hits different. Now, if you've been working in the Indian IT software company, you've probably worked with international clients, whether it is US, UK, Europe, wherever. You're probably used to working with international clients. But there is a difference when you work as a vendor, as a captive, and as actually part of the company. There is a lot of difference, whether you believe it or not today, whether you accept it or not. Once you see that respect, you cannot unsee it. I'll give you an example where you'll understand what I'm talking about. Let's say there are 2 people on a call, similar experience, similar skill set. One of them is introduced as, hey, this is Savinder, who's a resource with this vendor who will be helping us with the deployments. And the other one is introduced as, hey, this is Ramesh, who will own the deployment setup. You see the difference? One is the person who gets asked, what is your opinion? And the other is that person who gets asked, is it done yet? I'll give you a personal experience of mine. So when I was working with this remote company, this Phoenix Mall in Wakad had just opened up at that time. And there was a very heavy discount on some of the shops. And my wife wanted to go there. And at that time, I used to have my stand-up. So that day, I went on to Teams and I told my colleague, I called him up actually on Teams and I told him, hey, that there is this new big mall opened right very close to my house. We are going there. My wife wants to buy some things. There's a lot of discount going there. I'll skip the stand-up today. You know what his response was? He was like, yeah, man, makes complete sense. Go ahead, don't worry about it. There is just one thing that I want to talk to you about. When you're back, ping me, we'll jump on a call. Maybe a minute-old conversation, complete 100% transparency and complete respect. I challenge you, try doing this in your organization. No matter what you are, no matter where you are, there are very few places where you can actually talk this level of honesty. If you've ever been called a resource, tag in the comment, right? Resource, and I will know that this hit you where it was supposed to hit you. Chapter 2, async becomes your default. Asynchronous communication. And you don't spend your whole day in meetings only to realize that you've not even started your work and you have to do that at the end of the day. Now, in typical remote companies which work in multiple countries, what they do is they keep between 2 to 3 hours in a day as core working hours. This is typically the time that all of those countries where they have people, they have a good overlap. And you're expected to be online during that time. And most of the meetings are only set up during that time. A lot of the meetings that are meetings for you and me actually move into Teams or Slack, or they are just discussion threads over Teams or Slack, and that's the end of it. No long emails also in remote meetings. It's very, very hard because the languages are different, the emotions are different. It's much better if the communication is asynchronous. Plus, people are across time zones, so you can't keep waiting and you won't get meetings. So that's what they do. Let me ask you a question here. If you consider this week, how many of the meetings that you did this week could have been 2-3 line emails? Think about that. Or at best, a conversation over Teams. How many of the catch-up meetings were actually just 2 people talking while the other 10 were silent observers? How many of your stand-up meetings is actually that same dude bragging day after day while 3 of you stand in the corner, whether on Teams or physically, and rarely even open your mouth more than 30 seconds. Think about all of that. In my experience at the remote job, maximum I would spend not more than 1.5 hours every single day on meetings. The rest of it, core work. I'll give you a fun thing. This was the start of the Ukraine war, and we had one colleague in our team who was from Ukraine. And every once in a while, he would not join the stand-ups or he would not come to meetings, and he was just say on Teams, war. Now, this is a guy, big sturdy guy, think Russian in your head, those kind of well-built people with a heavy voice. So we thought, there is a war, obviously, there must be a lot of disturbance. And then once we got this guy, we said, hey, is everything okay with you? And he was like saying, and he said, yes, the war at home. And we were like, oh my God, are you okay? Did your building get bombed? Did somewhere close to you get bombed? And he goes, no, war at home. I was like, your parents' home? Is that okay? Is everybody okay, man? We're worried about you. And he said, no, you don't understand. War at home. I'm like, kya bol raha hai, yaar? What does he mean? And then he explained to us, not the Russia war, me war with my wife. We were going through a divorce. So that became the running joke. And a lot of times when this guy didn't turn up for a meeting, he would just type on Teams war ... at home. That became the joke with us. If you have been overburdened by meetings, let me know in the comments. Meetings are killing me and I will relate to you because I've been there. Chapter number 3, standard osmosis. What do I mean by that? So when you work in a quality remote job, you understand how a large enterprise actually works at world standards, and those standards, they automatically, you start absorbing them, and that is what I call standards osmosis. Let me give you an example. So I was talking to you how we used to have very few meetings. One of the rules for the meetings was to send a pre-read document. What's a pre-read document? It's the whole context of the meeting. This is the topic of the meeting. This is what we are going to discuss. These are the decisions I expect from that meeting. And that was a Word document, no slides, no bloatware, but a compulsory Word document which has to go out before every meeting. And everybody who was involved in that meeting would read that document and come prepared. What's the result of that? Zero time spent on context setting, or hey, let me bring you up to speed, or let me brief you on what we discussed last time. 5-10 minutes gone on crap like that. We used to have none of that. Everybody walked in having read that document, and that's, we would go section by section, that this is what we need to discuss, point 1, 2, 3. This is the decision that we need. What's your take? Very, very structured, very beautiful. Let me give you a fun story. So when I joined the remote bank, as part of my introduction, I was talking to a bunch of people. One of the folks that I spoke to was a very, very senior architect, one of the principals there. And he, after speaking to me for a while, I asked him, I said, hey, do you have any advice for me as I start getting on this DevOps transformation journey within the bank? And I remember what he told me. He said, son, do you know how porcupines have sex? I was like, no, not really. And he said, very slowly. And then he said, son, that is how you should lead transformation in the bank. Very slowly. That has stayed with me. So if you relate with this, type porcupines, and I know you got the joke. So if this video till now has blown your mind and you're like, "Arey yaar, mujhe bhi remote job karna hai. I also want to experience all of this." Wait. The next 2 sections that I show you will blow your mind even further, and you will think, how the heck is this even possible in a work environment? So stay on till the end. I'll come back. Chapter 4. You got judged on output, not optics. Now I know in a lot of organizations, there is something called as proximity bias. How close are you to your boss in terms of the physical location, the office, the city, the language. All of that seems to matter in a lot of organizations. Now, you've probably known or seen or heard stories of people where there are two folks, one who gets the job done, quietly goes home, the other who is very, very close to the boss, hovers around the boss, is in all meetings, agrees with the boss, very, very visible. The other guy just doing their work and focusing on their work and expecting the organization and the boss to recognize him. What happens when the appraisal time comes? The invisible guy, the guy with the output, the invisible guy, or the guy with the jobs and the proximity to the boss? Who do you think wins? In a remote job, this game is totally flipped. Why? Because there is no proximity. There is no game of being close to folks, because they are completely judged on merit and the amount and the quality of work that you do. At least that has been my experience. I'll tell you the one-on-ones that used to happen with my boss. Once a month, half an hour one-on-one, for 15-20 minutes, we would talk about family, vacation, what are your hobbies, what is the extra thing that you're trying to do, what is your interest, anything weird that you have done in tech, anything else. He was a complete geek, so anything interesting that you're learning in tech, everything but work. And then in the last 5-10 minutes, he would tell me what he's expecting from me in the next 1 month. I would tell him, and he would ask me, what is it that you want to work on? What is it that you're excited about? And we would find a match, and it was so beautiful working. Complete synchronicity, complete dance of a different type. So focus on output, not on optics. You see what I mean? Now, if you relate with this proximity story, type parrot proximity, and I will understand that you understand what I mean by this. Okay, chapter number 5, your name starts traveling. Now, this is a big one, so stay with me and make sure you understand this. So, let's imagine you're working for a big remote organization. One of your colleagues is in Berlin, the other in Australia, somebody in Canada, stuff like that. You get the picture. Now, this one compounds over a period of time. You create friendship, you create relationships, and then magic starts happening, because the guy in Berlin moves over to another organization and they need somebody strong in the DevOps cloud SRE area. Who do they reach out to? The guy in Canada joins a startup, or he starts his own second startup, because वहाँ पे allowed है, and he is looking for consultation on how to build his pipelines, how to set up his SRE. Who does he reach out to have this consultation on, let's say, a 3 to 6 months basis? The guy in Australia becomes a CNCF ambassador, and he knows that you are very passionate about Kubernetes and he or she is starting up a new CNCF project. Who do they reach out to chair the advisory tag of that project? See where I'm going with this? Your remote work has become your access to global gateways. And this is much beyond career. This is around networking opportunities, conference opportunities, opportunities for side gigs, a whole lot of other things. And why this is very much prevalent in a remote job situation and not just working for a services company where your client changes every 3-6 months, 1 year? Because here you create real relationships. And these are your colleagues. These are not your clients. So the level of trust and the relationship is different. If you don't believe me, that's okay. You will get it when you do it for yourself. Also, another benefit of this is, as your network expands, you start getting early warning signs from experts across the globe. What tools are working? What are the trends? What is going on in Europe versus US versus Australia? You have the right people that you can jump on a quick call and say, bhai, what the heck is going on? What are you thinking about this? How is agentic engineering happening in your organization? You get a global bird's eye view from the folks who are on the ground, and you know that they will not BS you. That is something which is invaluable, which no money can pick up. I hope you understand what I'm trying to tell you. This one itself is a huge big deal. Okay, a personal story on this one now. So there is this fellow called Ninad who used to work with me at the bank. Ninad and I have started a podcast together. He is based in Eastern Europe. He's a senior architect. He runs his own consulting company. And he reached out to me a while back and said, hey dude, I really liked working with you. We vibe very well. Would you be open to doing a podcast with me? And I was like, of course, man, why not? So we've started doing podcast. It's called The Architect's Lens. I will put a link in the comment. And what we are doing is we talk about architecture and DevOps Cloud SRE from a different lens. You will see a very different content side that I don't usually put on my YouTube channel. But if you want to have serious conversations, deep technical with friendly banter, that's the channel to look at. So those are the other kind of unlocks that might happen when you do a remote job. And now for the bonus point, which is keep your passport ready. Why? Passport. Why? Because typically the remote companies would do an offsite every 6 months, if not every 3 months, every quarter. And they would get everybody together in one resort so that there is team building. Now, these kind of organizations do not typically care about the money involved. They would invest that money so that the team gets together, bonds with each other, which will result in much higher dividends than saving the cost of flying a couple of people. So get your passports ready because a remote job might just stamp it much more than your regular office jobs. I'll give you a story, my again personal story. So in one of my, I think, third or fourth visit to Central Europe, to Tbilisi. This was for an offsite where we had to do the quarterly planning. And it was a 3-day trip to a ski resort somewhere there, right up in the mountains. A very beautiful place. And as I was packing my bags, a couple of my colleagues called and said, hey, can you get some Indian snacks for us? We've never had those. We want to try them. So can you guess what I got? I took a bottle of Old Monk and chitle bhakarwadi for them. And how do you explain Old Monk to these guys? What does it mean for us in India? And the only way I could describe Old Monk to these fellows is, guys, this is the drink that in India takes a boy to a man. And they were super impressed with that. And it was snowing. I think I have a picture. I'll put it up here. It was snowing and we had Old Monk and Bhakarwadi and their minds were blown when they had that. And that is how I became the guy with the Old Monk. Super happy about that. I hope this video made sense. I've kept it casual. I've kept it from the heart. Try to do something different. Let me know which of these points resonate with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys. Bye.